What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So as y'all know, today is indeed Wednesday, which means the Lunar Road Summit is now live. For that, we're going to get the Noble M600 Lunar Year Edition and also the Lunar Year Underglow. We're then going to get ourselves $200,000, so I would say the rewards are pretty dang great, besides the bronze one, because nobody cares about 5,000 spare parts there. I would rather have a free moose to ride away on, because I don't need that. But for this though, guys, this one is going to be a pretty interesting summit, mainly focused on hypercars and racing, so I would say it's going to be decently entertaining. We're also going to have the Escape there, a Bouy Smashing, and an Aerobatics. Now, as always, I do want to mention I will not be running pro settings on any of the events, and on top of that, I'm not using any of the main, I guess you could say, the meta vehicles in the events either, like the Koenigsegg Regera R or something insane like that, guys. I'm using oddball vehicles, because it honestly does make the summit pretty entertaining though. Besides that though, let's jump right into this. So for the first one here is an Escape. To be honest, guys, I would say this is going to be fairly simple to do it. The easiest way I found to do this one, though, is basically spawn in, switch over to your plane. I would recommend turning around first, so it would probably be a tad easier. Switch into a plane, then after that, basically hit the objective, head toward the road right next to it. You could switch to a rally raid vehicle, a hypercar. Now, for me, though, I did end up switching to a rally raid because I did not want to use a hypercar. If you are looking to get 157,000 points, I would say a hypercar is the best option. For me, though, I did basically switch to a rally raid. I was like, let's mix it up a bit. Still got 154,000 points. I would say that's probably going to be the best way to do it. Besides that, we're then going to have a Bouy Smashing. So something I did end up doing differently on this one. Yes, if you are wondering, I have 69,000 points. Top players are going to have well over 100,000, as you can see here. But I did want to do something different though. So for this, guys, heading over to the profile, heading over to the vehicle, let's head down to the power boats. I want to show you guys exactly what I ran on this to show something pretty interesting. As you'll see right here, I'm not running a score breaker. I didn't run one. 70% on skilled, so every single part I am going to have skilled and also pure on it. I am going to have a half a chemist or whatever, so I have 3 of those, but every single other part is going to be random. I still got 69 or so thousand plus points on it, guys, easily getting 157k. So no, you do not need a score breaker on the powerboat event. So the best thing about this one though is as long as you guys are running full skilled on every single part, make sure you add it on your legend points. You are basically good to go. The final one here is going to be an aerobatics. I did end up using the slick aircraft on this. You could probably use the Harmon rocket, the Politis, the Zivco. All are going to be great planes for this, I guess you could say skill, even though there's not a lot of these in the game. I'm also going to admit, guys, with a score breaker set on your plane, this is incredibly easy to do. I didn't even get perfect on every single one, got a maxed out score. Basically going through this my second run, it's honestly pretty simple. Besides that, we are going to once again have 6 events. 3 are going to be racing and 3 are going to be with hypercars. The first one I will talk about here, I guess you could say both of them because I use the same vehicle, the KTM Expo GT2. Now both of the events here are going to be lap focused, so the first one is going to be around 3 laps to do it, and the second one is going to be a total of 2. I would say, guys, the biggest thing I can recommend with the KTM is I do understand a lot of people, this could probably go for any racing vehicle for that matter, is you're probably going to want to look and most likely cut some of the corners, but you know what? I would recommend taking the corners very tight, staying on the road. That way the car's not going to like basically spin out or have issues. Because I did notice taking a racing vehicle off-road doesn't mix that well together. Overall though, having no pro settings on the Expo, this thing is pretty dang decent. In fact, I would say it's probably one of the better handling racing vehicles, especially not running pro settings. The speed is going to be there, it accelerates nicely out of corners, it's honestly fairly decent. The last event here is going to be another racing, or I guess you could say the last racing event. Tomato, tomato. But regardless, though, for this, I did end up picking the Volkswagen Electric R. You're probably going to see the Hoonigan Audi S1. That thing is incredibly great. And the Gordon Murray's also fantastic to run. Probably going to be some of the best racing vehicles in the entire game. But I'm sure everyone's like, well, Block, knowing you, you probably didn't run one of those vehicles, and you would be right. I did end up using the Electric R, guys. I love this car. I still stand by it. If you haven't tried it, I would recommend giving this thing a shot. It handles great. It's going to have really good brakes on it. On top of that, it is also going to have some great acceleration as well. And also, quick tip with the electric R, when you are cutting certain corners, you will have to take this thing off-road a bit. Do not turn this car, basically get it straight on the off-road areas and pretty much leave it that way. That is most likely going to give you less of a chance of probably spinning out in those corners. And with this event as well, there's also going to be a lot of cuts in it, whether that's going around the corners tight or basically going off the road a bit, kind of going on the sidewalks and all that. It's really going to help so dang much on this one. Overall, I would say it's not going to be the first time people have seen this event, and it might not even be the first time used a racing vehicle on it. For the next event, though, I did end up using the Koenigsegg Regera. Now, I gotta admit something, this was definitely not the best run I could have done. The reason for that is I'm not all that used to the Regera. Like, I'm better at driving the electric R, even though if you look at both vehicles, they're still going to technically be automatics in a way, or at least not shifting and all that, which I'm very used to doing. But the Regera is going to be really good in one aspect. If you guys are running Chemist, it's going to be your best friend in this event. When you are slowing down a bit, you can instantly hit that nitrous, get the car up to speed coming out of the corners, and yes, it works so dang well. There is going to be a few tight corners on this one, so it really did give you a ton of speed when coming out of them. I would recommend trying that out. We're then going to have a hypercar with the Koenigsegg. I wonder what everybody used. I guess you could probably take a guess here looking at the leaderboard. And yes, the Jesco, the Yesco, don't know which one if I'm saying that right, but regardless though, that Koenigsegg is going to be great. The Agera R is most likely going to be the GOAT, and also consider the best hypercar in the game. For me though, I did see everyone using the Agera, so what did I do? I did end up using the Koenigsegg 1. Love this car, guys. I know it's not like, going to be all that great, but I would still try this thing out. I love the way the braking is on this. Even to this day, I think it's some of the best brakes in the game, and I would recommend trying out the Koenigsegg 1. Is it going to beat the Agera R? Well, to be honest, most likely not. And then for the final event here in the summit, the wooden snake is with the lovely Noble M600 that if you do end up getting platinum, that car is going to be yours. Now with all vehicle owned events, you are going to get a base vehicle with no pro settings on it, and it's pretty much going to be a maxed out level, I guess you could say, with like green parts or something. But either way, I was pretty dang impressed with this vehicle. I think it handled pretty well, and I do understand having pro settings would most likely make it a tad better, but the overall speed was also fairly decent on it. And speaking of that though, one big tip I can give that can pretty much go for every single event in this summer, or basically any event in the game in general for that matter, is going to be the fact of finding the right line on the corners. I do understand this is probably going to sound dumb, guys, but not even kidding. I could probably shave off time on every single event if I was practicing this more, or at least most likely focusing on it, because on Gran Turismo, I definitely have that down. I really do enjoy doing it, but if you are finding the right corners in this game, it's probably me not really focusing or kind of just casually doing it. But if you are going to be approaching the corner too fast, you brake later, then you're going to find your line. That is going to make you slower, so do keep that in mind. Having a better line, also taking the turns tighter, is going to make you so much quicker. Besides all of that though, if you have any questions at all, do let me know in the comments below. For the most part, I would say this summit was pretty dang fun. Like, I did enjoy it. I did like the racing events. I found the hypercar events pretty fun. The skills, I would say, are probably going to be some of the easiest ones we have ever seen. But besides all of that, let's jump right into this summit.